This is a brief screencast on Chapter 11's text, which covers positioning. One thing that we should be aware of already from our first class, WebD 162, is that positioning can come as absolute, as relative, and now there's also sticky. So we're going to take a look at a few of these things. There's other properties that I'd like to introduce from this chapter, including offsets and z-indexes for stacking elements. But remember, this is pretty much an advanced CSS / responsive design course, which means we have to form connections of how this might be used in modern CSS and modern front-end development. So the first script I'm going to show you, and I've limited it, there's about 61 scripts in this chapter from the book code, but I'd like to show you, as more of a review, the concept of containing divs with absolute positioning. So in this case, I have a div ID absolute, or div ID example that has a position absolute. If I remove that, it will float because the containment is relative. So back to this, if I do that, I make it absolute, and that means I can control its positioning. But what's important is understanding the positioning that it is set to. Because this is inside that container, when I have a bottom zero, it is the zero of not the viewport, but the container itself. So where you should apply this is if you have responsive design, you have columns and rows, etc., and you have internal divs, we could absolutely position elements inside those internal divs. So when we do respond to different screen resolutions, the only thing the inside div pays attention to is its parent. And that's sort of the lesson of this entire chapter 11. So for example, I've just made the bottom at 0, and notice how I have the top, and the top, when I have that at 0, then it positions as well. So we have a left and right. There's right, which is right here because it's moving negatively, and left is at 75%. So we can position anything we want through absolute positioning. So it's not a crime at all. We can use them as long as they're interior divs, and we test them for tablet and mobile. Now the other thing is the overflow property and how to control what's visible or not. And I believe the book does an excellent job of coverage on this. We have 3 divs with sidebars, and you'll see a width of 30%, which is inside the container, which is display flex, which is the other part of this week's content. So you'll see if I do that, we have the flex grid goes away and we have one column. So inside here, let's take a good look at this. The first one has a lot of content, and the sidebar itself just has a container of width and height. All right, so the height is 70 ems. If I push this out and make it taller, obviously it contains the whole thing. So that's not the point. The point is that if you have a height, no matter what, the sidebar of the content, it's going to overwhelm it. So that's the first one. It's not really a viable example because we wouldn't do it. Now this is overflow hidden, and all it means is that whammo, we can hide it within the bounding box. So we're controlling overflow right now. Now the other one, which is widely popular, is overflow scroll, which is popular, and we'll get to this later on in this video about the dangers of having this in mobile. Generally, we should keep all things visible with mobile because it's a scrolling action anyway that the user takes. Now, this is a demonstration of visibility, and in this case, I have an EM class that has visibility hidden, and I can uncheck it and see that I have content in there. But one thing I'd like to show you is that if I did display none, which might be your gut instinct, you'll see that it will not only remove the value of that element, but all the things around it will lose their padding. So if I move this, you see that Doug moves to the right, and if I go back to visibility hidden, we have spacing where the element would be. So there we go. Anyway, so that's the difference between visibility hidden and display none. Now we can go move into more of an absolute positioning containing block, and this is much like the first script in the fact that we have a divs inside a container, same type of thing, position relative, heights and widths, but inside here I have one div and another div inside of it. So my point about this entire lesson, it holds valid that if we're doing something in responsive, we can still use absolute positioning to position elements inside their divs as long as we test. So here we have a bottom 0, we have a left 0. If we do position absolute and remove that, you'll see it's still retained in its containing div, which is nice. It's a nice combination, but the fact is we can indeed control what happens. See, I'm doing position left and you see it pushing up, and now it goes across because the container itself can no longer hold its values. Alright, this is an example of absolute positioning with shrinking to fit. And if I hold my inspect element here, you'll see again the container is absolute position relative with a fixed width and a border, but the inside here is position top and left. Now the right and auto will shrink to fit, so if you go like this, you'll see, hold on a sec, right auto, width auto, you'll see that it shrinks no matter what. So the whatever the bounding box is, it's going to shrink to it because the width and the right element is automatic, which is a nice way to style something so it shrinks to fit. Now this next section we're going to cover the z-indexing, which is a stack. And here we have elements A, B, and C. So right now, when I look at this, and we'll look at the source code as well, you will see there is no z-index here, but we have a position relative and positioning absolute. So when they're loaded top to bottom, you'll see that they'll still stack even without a z-index. So right now, element B, for example, or element C is at the top, and when we look again at our source code, you'll see that A, B, and C is the last one, which is why it's stacked. So all we have here are divs that are positioned absolute above each other based on order. Now the next element is excuse me, I've got all my stuff together here. This is an example of emulating frames with fixed positioning. Now the beauty of this is that this is how we can maintain elements based on fixed positioning. So if we take a look at div fixed top, that is this. And if we take a look at our sidebar, you'll see that this position is also fixed, and the main is also fixed. Now this would be an example of adaptive design, not responsive design. We see that it reacts a little bit, but you see it push over, and it's not the best idea for a responsive application. Now what adaptive design is we take different blocks of code, different code bases for different devices. So instead of having media queries respond to a device's resolution, we'll have different code depending on the user agent, which is the device that's accessing the site. So that's our screencast here. Now the last, we've done absolute, relative, and fixed. Now we can do sticky positioning, and that's the last value, and it does not is not honored by Internet Explorer at all. So we've got to be wary about this. But let's take a good look at this code, because you'll see that this scrolls. And if we inspect the element on this guy, we will see, hopefully, we're going to go to scroll boxes, and you'll see position sticky here. So in this case, I'm in the second scroll box right here, and because the position is sticky, it's in the exact same place all the time, regardless of margins. So again, if you look at IE, sticky is not yet honored, which is a definite problem, especially when you look at your users, and you'll notice that chances are a lot of them are using IE to this day. It's tough for us to accept that as web developers, but it's true. If you look at the amount of people who have, they're writing on desktops and PCs that have IE as their default browser, and that's why we have to cater to them. So each scroll box will have an overflow scroll, which is also learned in here with a relative position, but inside there, the divs themselves are sticky. So here we go. Here's our A2. And the OLs, these are all sticky positions, so they will not move in reference to each other. This is one of the more common uses of using sticky positioning, and this will be the last thing that we show in this lesson, and that is the concept of, where are we, buddy? Using a sticky footer, which is the most common type of, there we go. Here it is right here, Scrollbox H2, and you can see it sticks to the bottom no matter what. And in this case, we'll do an H2 here, and you can see that it's maintaining bottom 0. So when you see a sticky footer, that you might see position sticky for all browsers other than IE, and you'd have fixed positioning for IE, and bottom would be 0. So it acts as if it's position absolute because it has a bottom property, but you would have to cater to IE as well, so let's not forget that. Anyway, so that's what we need to learn. We need to cover z-index offsets. We also covered absolute positioning, relative positioning, fixed positioning, and sticky positioning.